evening, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another episode of Be the Change. Today we are joined in studio by a very dynamic personality, someone who I know you will really enjoy listening to. Her name is Fatima Asmal, and she is the founder of Ilm SA. Welcome to the studio and welcome to Be the Change, Fatima.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Lubna. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and assalamu alaikum to all the viewers.
So we want to find out more about yourself and your work that you've been doing with Ilm SA. So let me start off by asking you, how did you actually start the organization? What inspired you to do it? And what are some of the things that you had to, what were the difficulties that you encountered in the beginning of the organization?
Well, in terms of initiating Ilm SA, it's very much a question of the mysterious plan of Allah unfolding in one's life, as it does over and over again. I was being the operative word, married in the UK, and the marriage didn't work out. But whilst I was living in the UK for that brief period of time of over a year, I was amazed by the dynamism I witnessed amongst the Muslim community and the way Islamic knowledge was so accessible to everyone. People were flocking to lectures and seminars. The mosque was a hubbub of activity. There were halaqat that were organized in various areas that men could attend, women could attend. I even spent an entire month at a Quran Tajweed summer school in Wales, and I was fascinated by that. So even though the marriage didn't work out, when I returned to South Africa in around 2005, 2006, I decided that I wanted to introduce some of the personalities in the field of Islamic scholarship that I had learnt about to an audience here. So I began by introducing them through the radio medium, but when that didn't work out, I decided, why depend on other organizations to give myself a platform? Why not start my own organization? So Ilm SA started off being an organization that was meant to provide Islamic studies to the everyday man and woman, but that aspect of Islamic studies, or those aspects of Islamic studies which are relevant to them, like how to live as a minority, how to do away with prejudices like racism and gender prejudice in the community. It was meant to tackle those kinds of topics. But then again, Allah has a plan, we plan, He plans, and He always plans better. So over the years we have evolved, and we tend to focus on the seminars and the workshops to a lesser extent, and our focus is now more humanitarian, not social welfare, but empowerment of individuals and communities through giving them access to upliftment exercises that will improve their lives.
Okay, so Ilm SA stands for Institute for Learning and Motivation. How do you find that you can provide that learning and motivating South Africans?
Well, in terms of the learning, like I mentioned, the seminars, initially we used to host many of them. We hosted various overseas personalities who have only now become well known in the South African context, like Yasser Qadi, Abu Isan Imatullah, Yahya Ibrahim, two of the great scholars who are currently in prison, Professor Tariq Ramadan, Sheikh Salman Al-Auda. These were all personalities that we hosted in our early years when that was our aim. So that was the learning aspect of it, as well as the motivating people to become more holistic in their practice of Islam. These days, when it comes to seminars and workshops, our main flagship event is the Muslimah Today event, which is a conference for women, which we will discuss a bit later on. But in addition to that, the learning now is in the form of our bursary program. We have a bursary program which assists over 30 students in accessing tertiary studies, and there is also a smaller aspect to that program which also assists a few, not as many as the tertiary students, but a few high school and primary school students as well, in terms of the fees and the uniforms and that kind of thing. So that's where the learning comes in, and the motivation is in terms of motivating people to understand that God has given them gifts, like more wealth than other people, skills, abilities, and that they should use those skills, they should use those abilities, and they should use from that wealth to uplift the lives of others. So we try to motivate them to do so by telling them the stories of how people's lives have changed just through somebody giving them an opportunity to access education, for example.
Okay, so tell me something about your team that you work with, because obviously you need a very good, strong team to be able to help you to accomplish all of these things. A little bit about some of your sort of colleagues at Il Messe.
I'm a very firm believer in the saying that too many cooks spoil the broth. So we are a very small, very intimate organization, very close to each other. The organization is run by myself and my best friend, Azra Hassim. We are essentially the trustees. I founded the organization in 2006, and I met her a few months later, and she was on board almost immediately. We have the same vision. We offset each other very nicely. I'm the emotional one, she's the rational one. I'm the one who gets really stressed out, and she's the one who takes charge when I'm stressed out and sorts out the logistics in those situations. And then we have 2 full-time office staff. Well, rather, one is based in the office full-time, who is Sumaya Khan. She's our administrative assistant and the backbone of the organization. And then we have Sheikh Saeed Musa, who has different roles in the morning and different roles in the afternoon. So in the morning, he undertakes logistics for us. He's the one who is licensed to drive the organization's vehicle. So he would do deliveries, home visits, if there is the odd social welfare case that we decide to investigate further. And in the afternoons, he will visit a different rural madrasa project that we assist, and he will assess, sit with the children, motivate them, chat to the teachers, find out if there are any issues that they are facing, deliver foods, deliver food, deliver kurbani meat, for example, deliver clothing, and that kind of thing. So essentially, it is the 4 of us, and then when we do have events, we call on the community to come and lend a hand. And there's a few events during the year where volunteerism is actually the backbone of the event, those being our Eid with a Difference program, our rural Iftar program, and our Muslima Today program. And I mentioned bursary students just now. When they apply for a bursary, they sign a declaration in which they agree that even though the bursary is non-repayable, they will repay the organization through assisting the community by volunteering at some of our events. So you will often see bursary students at our events helping out.
Okay, I find that the way in which you combine the different components of your work is very interesting. So tell me a little bit more about the madrasa program, for example, and how it is that these madrasas in the various outlying areas function and sort of work together with Il Messe.
Okay, so the madrasas are very organic. They had nothing to do with us. We didn't initiate any of them or establish any of them except for one. So there's a madrasa in Malagasy, there's another one in Fulweni, there's another one in Terrence Park, which we did initiate, and we've recently started assisting another madrasa in Kwamashu. So what happened was, these are African sisters who converted to Islam of their own accord a long time before we even met them. They then decided that they wanted to teach the basics of Islam to children in their community. These children come from homes which are not Muslim. They face various challenges in their areas on the streets, and their parents were very happy to keep them off the streets. So the parents are quite happy to send them along to these madrasas. So they come to the madrasas, they learn the basics of Islam, they sit with the Appa, they learn how to sing Islamic songs. They view the teacher as being a very maternal figure. She may even understand a lot about their social welfare background, whether they are orphaned, etc., etc. When Il Messe began its humanitarian wing, one of these teachers heard about us and approached us asking if we could assist her, and through her another teacher heard about us, and so on and so forth, until it came to be that we have these madrasas, which we do not say we run, but rather we prefer to say that they are autonomous and we assist them. So we assist them by arranging for a stipend to be paid to each teacher for the effort that she makes in assisting these children, and we assist the madrasas by sending food to them as often as possible. providing them with second-hand clothing that's in a good condition, as well as a brand new set of clothing on the day of Eid. And of course, on Eid day, that is Eid al-Fitr, we host a massive celebration for them at Essenwood Park. So all the children are transported to Essenwood Park with their teachers. They send new clothes in advance, and we have a party of note, which includes everything from the prayer to meals to treats to games and entertainment. But this is just our short-term goal. We envision that inshallah in the future we will have the capacity to conduct research into the lives of every single child attending the madrasa, so as to help them create a better future for themselves. And I'll give you an example of this. There was a learner who attended a particular madrasa that we run, and currently he's studying teaching, and he's like really excelling. We would like to see more of that happening, more learners being assisted, not just in the context of the madrasa setup, but in terms of improving their lives and the lives of their families in the long term.
Now, when you started Ilm SA, it was at a time when there weren't such initiatives that were happening, and we can say that it was a very different space, in terms of broader society. Do you find that a lot has changed in the many years that Ilm SA has been in existence, and how would you, rate those changes with regard to the kind of work that you do?
Yes, when we brought Yasir Qadi down in 2009, we used to receive phone calls where people used to swear us. And they used to say to Azra and I, why are you bringing these foreign scholars down? What is wrong with your women? You're trying to introduce Wahhabism to South Africa. And I would have people pamphleteer about me because we were organizing a Eid prayer for underprivileged children, and women could attend that Eid prayer. So people would write pamphlets about me, and they would talk about us, just like they would do with the other Eidgah organizers, the George Campbell Tip Eidgah as well. And now there's more of an acceptance, and there's more of a tolerance. Now Yasir Qadi is coming and everyone's talking about it. No one's mentioning anything about ideology, because the internet has changed the way in which we interact with each other and the way in which we interact with overseas practice of Islam. There'll be a minority who may still be stuck in a space where they believe they are right and everyone else is wrong. But to me, that is just the minority. There's a lot more openness out there now in terms of accepting and respecting other people's points of view. But I think in terms of the Indian African barrier in the Muslim community, no, I don't think much has changed there. And I think that there we still need to do a lot more work, where we don't view the African person as a beneficiary, but we view them as an equal, a brother or sister that we could marry, that we could partake of meals with, together with, and not give substandard meals to. So I think in that regard, a lot hasn't changed, and lots is still being done in a top-down sort of way.
Okay, hold that thought. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back shortly.